Hello, everybody. Once again, thank you for tuning in to ChannelBK. My name is Brian. We're at another list this time. Holy fucking shit. Top 50 albums of 2017. Holy fuck, Brian. You got 50 albums this time around? Yes, I did. It's exciting. Get ready to buckle in, boys and girls. Excuse the fuck out of me. Anyways, so before we get started, I'll have two honorable mentions. Obviously, once again, as I mentioned from the last video, I was so specific on this. I let this list sit for a while because I wanted to be perfect with it. And, like I said, in other years where I feel like certain albums, I'm like, maybe this should have been number one instead. So I tried really hard to do that this time around and have a good lock on what I wanted for the best album of the year. So anyways, just wanted to say that quickly. Honorable mentions. Run the Jewels 3, Run the Jewels. Yes, I know it technically came out last year and this year. I don't want to consider it, like I said, because I want to be specific about this list. Guess what? It's still a great album. Please go listen to it. And also, I want to mention Science Fiction by Brand New. This album was in my top 25. I loved it. It was great until everything came out about Jesse. And obviously, he admitting to all these sexual things he did. And here's the thing. We're all hypocrites about shit like this. We all like certain artists that maybe do terrible things and blah, 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 blah. We all know. We all have that. But at the same time, I didn't want to at least put it on the list. After talking to a bunch of people, I felt it was not right to put it on the list. So I'm leaving it off the list, but I want you guys to know I still like the album. He is a piece of shit for what he did, but I wanted to at least mention it. So anyways, like I said, if things are pronounced wrong or right, whatever, we're going to fucking roll with it, deal with it. Love me, why don't you? I don't have enough of it. Anyways, here we go. At number 50, we got Idols with Brutalism. At 49, we got His Spun by the lovely Chelsea Wolfe. At 48, we got Drunk, Thundercat. And at 47, we got Mass Seduction by the always wonderful Saint Vincent. 46, we got Relatives in Descent, Protomartyr. At 45, we got Saturation 3, Brockhampton. At 44, we got Billy Woods with Known Unknowns. At 43, we got Utopia, Björk. And at number 42, we got the new national record, Sleep Well Beast. At 41, we got the lo-fi record of Dedicated to Bobby Jameson, Ariel Pink. For some reason, I kind of stumbled there. Anyways, at 40, we got Plunge Fever Ray. 39, Gone Now by Bleachers. And 38, we got the pop record Rainbow by Kesha, The Return of Kesha. Number 37, we got the ambient electronic project Compassion by Forest Swords. And number 36, we got the quirky and always interesting War and Leisure by Miguel. 35, 35, that was 36. We're at 35 now. Antisocialites, always. 34, we got the huge double disc of Forever is a Mighty Long Time by Big Crit. So much to dive into this record, so much. 33, we got Melodrama by Lorde, singer-songwriter, experimental artist Lorde. 32, we got Brick Body Kid Still Daydream by the always awesome Open Mike Eagle. And at 31, we got The First Saturation by Brockhampton. Oh my god, Brian, there's so many Brockhampton albums. Shut the fuck up. It's my list. Deal with it. 30, Control, SZA. Great singer-songwriter album. Great to hear this debut from her. And 29, we got the late edition of No One Ever Really Dies by Nerd. So good. Such a good record. So glad to have it on the list. 28, we have the debut and self-titled record of Harry Styles. Like I said, wonderful for this album to end up the way it was. So good. 27, we got All American Badass by the rapper Joey Badass, because he's a rap band. I'm stumbling now. Near to the Wild Heart of Life is at 26 by Japan Droids. We're just going to keep going. And now at 25, I See You, the XX. I wish Hold On was in my singles list last year. I was so happy to hear this record. I think Jamie did such a great job sort of building on what the XX does well and making it a brand new sound. I think that was kind of the big push for this record. That sort of side of the band coming out more was great, and I loved it. 24, we got First Opus by St. John Hawk. So great to hear a project from him now. I love just the bangers on here. The electronic music we heard on here is great. Especially something like Onset. So fucking good. So good. Lovely to hear from him. 444 by Jay-Z's at number 23. Such an interesting record to hear. It was crazy to get something so open and honest and vulnerable from Jay. yeah, it was something where it blew me away on first listen, and I was like, it was weird for somebody at this point of his life to dive into something like this. It was great. So good. 22, we got, and also because like I said last year, I felt bad about the whole not having any of the Knowles on the list because I never got around to those two albums. So yes, I'm trying to make up for it now. 22, Soul of a Woman, Sharon Jones and the Dapkins. Rest in peace, Sharon Jones. You made a great final record. Just, I love the majority of this record. I think the sound is great. It's happy. It's sad. I think her performance is great. The jazz fusion of everything in there too is great. I just love the sound of this record, and I think the sentiment of it is great as well. 21, we go to Outrage Is Now by Death From Above. Punchy record, violent sounding record. I love the sound of it. I love just the performances on it. And like I said, from the singles, I'm glad that I finally got around to listening to a full project of theirs because this was definitely great. At 20, we got a singer-songwriter that I finally jumped on the bandwagon to. That's Mr. Mac DeMarco with This Old Dog. I've heard songs by him once again, but once I got around to this record, I kind of fell out of love with it a tad bit, but I don't really see the thing of like people saying it sounds all samey. I think it sounds very different at a lot of points, and again, the flow of this record's great, and I just love him as a songwriter. And he has such good vocals. They sound so mellow, but there's so much passion and emotion in them too that I find so great, and I love his sound. It's awesome. 19, we got Shapeshifter, Knuckle Puck. This record kind of jumped up a lot. Like I said, when I first listened to it, I thought it was good, but I think it just kind of grew on me. The sentiment and, you know, it pulls at my heartstrings of the pop punk love. And yeah, I just think it's great. I think it's just one of those albums where it's like 10 tracks of great, just solid pop punk. And yeah, it's great. I don't have anything else to say. At number 18, Rhapsody, please, I apologize for not saying this right. Lalila's Wisdom. Okay, I fucking know. It's just the I with the like the L after. That's what fucking throws me off. But anyways, this record was amazing. I'm glad I finally listened to it a few months ago because I was kind of nervous listening to it because obviously Rhapsody's sort of blown up. I know she's done projects before To Pimp a Butterfly, but once she had that moment, she had her spotlight. I love her as a female voice on this record. I think her topics were so good. I loved the way her production sounded. It was more to me than just like a bunch of raps. Like there's so much to it. And I was so blown away because I was kind of nervous because it was such a intense listen, but she did it in such a great way. I thought it was wonderful. So Rhapsody, I'm sorry I pronounced it wrong, but I love you. You had a great record. 17, we got a drone group, as we all know them by now. Godspeed You Black Emperor with Luciferian Towers. Look, I know a lot of people were on edge with this record. Some people didn't like it. Some people did love it. Personally, I really liked the compositions. The last record they came out with 2 years ago, I agree, was definitely a letdown. But the record that they came out with in the new sort of like era in 2012, I wish I knew the name off the top of my head. That was a great record. And I think it kind of almost lived up to it. And, you know, I can see where people are coming from, where it's not these grand epic things that they're doing anymore. They're more a little bit low key. Like they're not as big and, you know, all that. Personally, I still think it was great. And I definitely, the second and third time listening to it, I was getting more into it. I think the sounds on this record are great, and it captivated me a lot. 16, We're Gonna Be Over, Brockhampton, Saturation 2, No More Saturations. Again, I said that word, saturation. Yes, all three of them are on here. I think they're all great. I definitely think this is the best one. I think they pulled some great hard-hitting sounds, but they brought even more personality and personal touches in terms of lyrics and styles. There was barely a skippable track to me, or like tracks that slouched. I think all the singles were phenomenal on this, and I think this is definitely the highlight. This is like the Dark Knight of their Saturation trilogy, for sure. At number 15, we got the metal group Code Orange with Forever, or, you know, kind of in that reign. I'm not really a big fan of this kind of music all the time, but when it's good, it's fucking great. And Code Orange, I heard this record, it slapped me upside the fucking head, and I couldn't stop. Like, it was just non-stop, track after track. I loved it. It was so good. I loved the performances, too. It was such a great record, such a raw, visceral record, but a punchy record, too. 14, we got Arca's self-titled record, Arca. I love Arca. I think he's done great production for a lot of artists, and it was great to hear him come to his own on this new project of his. I love his vocals. They're so haunting and chilling. I love the ambience of this record, and the experimentation was great. Definitely a great record. We're at No Shape at number 13 by Perfume Genius. Mike blows me away every single record. Like, he just goes into these completely weird directions. I don't expect him. It's like a fairy tale, this book. It's like a fairy tale book is what I meant to say. Just the sound of it. And it's a very luscious record, but it's still lo-fi, and it's wonderful, and his performance is great, and I think the lyrics like Other Side, and then Alan, and then something like, like I said, Slip Away. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Reef. Oh, my God. So good. Big Fish Theory, Vince Staples, number 12. People were on edge with this record. Again, this was either you loved it or you could not vibe with it. This was the first record of Vince Staples that I fully was on board with. Loved it. I kind of started falling out of love with it, but then I kind of always kept coming back to it. So I'm like, well, clearly this is a record I love. And the experimentation, for the most part, works. And I think he does what he does best. And I think the vibe of this record and the lyrics and sort of, his like Party People's a great example, or, again, Big Fish. I love the topics he has too. It's awesome. At number 11, Common as Light and Love Our Red Valleys of Blood by Sun Kill Moon. Here's the thing. Mark Kozolek, he does what he does. This record's over 2 hours of that in this new era of his, and that's all I really have to say. There's some weird experimentation I never would have expected from him either. Again, it's not obviously in the top 10 because it's a lot, and I didn't go back to it all the time because it is a lot, but hey, it's still fucking phenomenal. But the top 10, here we go. My favorite electronic album of the year, Neo, Wax Bloom, Igloo Ghost. Shit, I fucking fucked up, but I don't care. This project as a whole was so great. Like I said, I think the reason why none of his singles made it into my list is because I didn't really go back to the singles. I just go back to the album. The album's so wonderful and colorful and interesting and bright, and it's like sporadic, and it's like I was not expecting something this great, but obviously coming from Brain Feeder, I should expect something this great. So definitely a phenomenal album. At number 9, we have singer-songwriter Sampha with Process. Thank you for coming out with an album, Sampha, finally. It came out super early this year, back in January. It has stayed constantly on repeat. I love all the places he goes. I think this is some of the best songs he's crafted. I'm glad he finally waited to have that moment. Timmy's Prayer, the song that I said in my singles, No One Knows Me Like the Piano. There's just so many great places he goes, and they all fit together in a great record. And again, lyrically, vocally, he's always on point, always. To another singer-songwriter that their album starts with a P is Feast with Pleasure at number 8. Women singer-songwriters are complicated for me. The past couple years, it's only once in a while I kind of find my couple ones, but this was one where I remember listening to it because there's a lot going on. And I said, I need to listen to this again because I know it's going to grow on me. And it did. It's like weird and lo-fi, but it's airy and spacious. But then it's really heavy when it needs to be. Her vocals are incredible. The songwriting's great. There's really, it's, obviously with someone like Angel Olsen last year, it was just hard-hitting, straight in your face with also very, simple complexities and softer moments. But this was such a weird record to listen to. Like in the opening, which was one of my favorite songs of the year, was a great way to open it, and it's just phenomenal in general. At number 7, we got a record that surprised the shit out of me, and it was so happy to have this record, After Laughter, Paramore. This record obviously has a lot of context now after, I don't know if she was getting married or she was married, and it all obviously came to a close, sadly. But Haley, listening to this record in retrospect, something like 26, God, one of her best performances, and, Told You So, and Hard Times, and Rose Color Boy. The production is phenomenal. The band has never sounded better. They do this sound so well, and I was so proud that it was done so well. But at number 6 is a record that, yes, I definitely think is almost as good as people say it is, and that's Damn! Kendrick Lamar. Look, I'm going to agree with you guys. I don't think it's as good as something like To Pimp a Butterfly for sure, but I think is almost as good as people say it is. It's obviously a little bit more mainstream. There's poppier stuff on here and places he goes, but some of his best songs are on here. Some of his best lyrics are on here. Some of his most intricate things he's done is on here. And yes, it kind of grew on me, the idea of the loose concept this record is, but I think it is packaged so well that I cannot but go back to it, and I still go back to this record. It's great. And number 5, pure comedy, Father John Misty. This is a crowning moment for him. I cannot believe he did something this avant-garde so well. Just again, all the topics on here, we talk about pure comedy and just the way he's looking at society, you know, gun control and just the idea of just, you know, power and all that, and government, all that. He does such, in like the media, he does such an interesting job doing things that seem very like samey, but doing them in different ways and putting such great instrumentation to them. And again, like, he really wrote and put together a phenomenal piece of work. Just like at number 4, which is A Crow Looked at Me by Mount Eerie. It's not an album I replay that much, but when I hear stuff from it, I'm like getting fucking choked up thinking about it. Like, it's probably the most raw and in the moment things I've ever heard. You know, I don't want to really give away too much of like what the record is, but I feel like all I have to say is just go listen to it, because it's something that's going to punch you in the fucking gut and just, you're going to feel like shit. But it's a beautiful record, and the vulnerability is something that I've rarely seen in a record of a singer-songwriter. And why, like, you know, every once in a while I get it, but it was something. All right. To go to number 3, we got Always Foreign by The World Is a Beautiful Place, and, you know, the rest of the shit. I understand the people that don't like this as much as old stuff, and I understand where people love this record. Yes, there's stuff like The Future and, you know, stuff like Graham, which aren't these over-the-top songs, but there is still great songs on here like Marine Tigers and something like Faker. Like, I think they do such a great mix of this new punchiness that they have, and also this, you know, grand landscape songs that they do, and, you know, these grand building songs. I don't know what grand landscape even fucking means in this conversation, but even lyrically, it surprised me that how political they got, and I think they do it very classily, and it's very well done. And yes, I think I would listen to maybe their second record, Harmlessness, a little more, but again, this record, just the way everything kind of rolled around this year, it was definitely this high up on the list for sure. Number 2, because I go back to it. Anyways, number 2, Crack Up, Fleet Foxes. Oh my God, so happy to have Fleet Foxes back. Robin and crew put together such a great record. You know, If You Need To, Take Time on Me. Obviously, I said the 3rd of May. The compositions on this are so stunning and moving, and just the lyrical intricacies that he writes are so great and grand. And this is such a beautiful record, and it was going to be number 1. And I think over time, I kind of thought, you know, it only deserves to be number 2 because it's not a record I go back to every single fucking day. And I still think it deserves to be this high up because of how great it is. But number 1, I think it's very simple. This record surprised the fuck out of me. I was uber happy the way it sounded, and then some. I think it's the most complete record this person's put together, and I think it is their crown achievement. That's Flower Boy by Mr. Tyler, the fucking Creator. Tyler, you put together something that was immaculate to me. The composition, the features, the raps, the singing, just the writing in general, you know. Obviously, this record being so talked about because, you know, it's is he gay and blah. But, like, for Tyler being the type of person he is, guess what? If he is, who gives a fuck? Because this is the most vulnerable he's been, but the most open and honest, but also the most diverse and well-rounded he's ever been. I think he's been waiting for this moment, and I think this is his magnum opus. I think in every way, shape, or form, I still go back to it. It's a fucking great album, and it's absolutely my favorite album of the year. So like I just said, that's kind of why I did it the way this year. I want to be super specific. But if you've heard any of these albums, or if they're some of your favorite albums of the year, leave them in the comments below why you agree. If they're not, or if there are other albums, leave those in the comments below as well. Thank you guys again for watching. You know, check out all the videos that I fucking got. Why don't you? But now, probably after this video, you're going to be going into the new set of classic reviews I have for the year. And then we will be finishing it out in the new year with one more list. So I hope you guys wait for that. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. And thank you for tuning in to Channel BK. Peace out, guys.